Good evening and welcome to a candidate forum for the 2018 Public Agency Member position on the CalPERS Board of Administration. I'm Suzanne Finney, a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the facilitator for this forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of women and men established to promote political responsibility through informed, active participation in government. The League does not support, oppose, or evaluate political candidates or political parties. This candidate forum conforms to our policies for a fair, unbiased, and nonpartisan forum. Well, about you, the CalPERS board makes important decisions about your future, your pension, and your health benefits. It's in your best interest to know who the candidates are, what they stand for, and how that relates to your own retirement future. In terms of this year's election, similar to last year, you'll be able to vote in one of three ways: online, by mail, and by telephone. The format for today's forum will be as follows. The candidates will make a 2-minute opening statement. Next, the candidates will have between 1 to 2 minutes to respond to questions from the audience, so I hope that you've all been writing down questions. And then we'll wrap up the forum with a 2-minute closing statement by each candidate. I've already mentioned this to our candidates, but we have a timer in the front who will alert the candidates as to how much time has elapsed. We'll give them the 30-minute warning, 30-second warning, and then the stop. Due to the timing of this forum, and in fairness to the candidates, please observe the following. All questions must be submitted in writing and given to an appropriate volunteer. When you have written out your questions, raise your hand and someone will come and pick it up for you. If there are numerous cards asking the same question, the League may try to consolidate those into 1 or 2 questions so that we have enough time for as many topics as possible. Please hold your applause until the end of the forum. And also any campaign materials you may have for distribution must be placed on the table outside of this room. There's no campaigning inside. So thank you for coming and following these measures. Let's begin. I would like to introduce the candidates for public agency member position. To my immediate left, Jason Perez, Police Association President, and Priya Mathur, incumbent.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. No applause. Remember, that was one of the ground rules. Thank you. We will now start with each candidate's opening statement. We will be using the order in which the candidates appear on the ballot. So we will be starting with Jason Perez. Jason, you are on.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out to the forum and listening and investing in your CalPERS future. For those online, thank you very much for tuning in or for watching it later. You're going to see a common theme in the way that I talk and the way that I interact. For those that don't know me, I'm a police officer. I've been with the city of Corona for 24 years. Worked various assignments. I've been a detective, a corporal. I'm currently the training sergeant. I am a 10-year board member of my union, and I am the current president of my union. We, the Corona Police Officers Association, got engaged with CalPERS about 14 years ago because we started at the negotiation tables during collective bargaining. And to get a complete picture, we started talking to the actuarial and learning more about how to bargain for our members. We want to get the best we can for our members as fiduciaries. Through that time, we've come to learn a great deal. We've been engaged with the CalPERS board for the last 14 months, coming up, sending people from little old Corona down in Riverside County all the way up to SAC and to invest our time here. I've only got 2 minutes, so I'll cut to the chase. as soon as I find it. Article, the California Constitution says the members of the Retirement Board of a public pension or retirement system shall discharge their duties with respect to the system solely in the interest of and for the exclusive purposes of providing benefits to participants and the beneficiary, minimizing employer contributions thereto, and defraying reasonable expenses of administering the system. That's what the California Constitution says the board members of this fund should do, and that's not what Mather's doing. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next opening statement by Priya Mathur.
Thank you very much, Suzanne, and really thank you to the League for facilitating this important candidate forum. I know there's not a lot of people here in the audience today, but I know that there'll be a lot watching us online either now or later. And I also want to thank the CalPERS elections team for all their efforts coordinating this important election. You know, it has been my great honor to protect California public employees' pension for the last almost 16 years, and to lead this important organization as board president since January. During my time on the board, CalPERS has focused on constructing and investing the portfolio to ensure that members' retirements are there when you need them. Since the global financial crisis of 2008, CalPERS has doubled the size of the portfolio to about $360 billion today. And we have done this through a number of different strategies, by diversifying the types of investments, by improving our downside protection or the risk of losing money in a down market, by incorporating cash flow producing investments so that we don't have to sell investments to make benefit payments, and by driving return with investment types that are proven to deliver returns greater than our target rate of return. CalPERS has also delivered on healthcare, achieving for 2019 the lowest average premium increase in 20 years of 1.16%. When you compare this to projections for covered California for 2019, which are expected to be between 16 and 30%, this is an even more extraordinary result. We pulled a number of levers to deliver this low premium increase. Good old-fashioned negotiating based on data and evidence. We introduced health plan competition. We developed leading healthcare innovations that deliver high-quality healthcare while also reducing the cost of care. And despite increasing copays that we see in the private sector, CalPERS has not raised copays in 13 years. And with all of that, we have succeeded in expanding benefits while holding the line on affordability.
Thank you, candidates. You are finishing right on time. We're going to move to the question and response portion of the forum. We have some questions that we've received from the audience. I'm hoping for some more. I'm going to start out with two general ones before we move to the audience questions. And so, as I mentioned, Jason Perez is first on the ballot, so I'm going to start with him, and then we will have Priya Mathur answer the same question. But it's going to get really boring if I do that continuously, so I'll try to mix it up a little. So Priya will have a chance to go first, Jason second, etc. So our first question, nice and general. Why do you want to be a CalPERS board member? So to Jason.
Thank you. I'm born and bred to be a police officer. I have 11 people in my family that are police officers. I'm good at what I do. I'm compelled to be a CalPERS board member. I'm compelled to run against Ms. Mather because we want a secure retirement. And right now, with the way that the fund is going, with the leadership under Ms. Mather, it's not going the way it should be. So it's not that I want to be a board member, it's that we need to turn the fund back in the direction where it needs to go, which is maximizing the returns for the benefit of the members. She mentioned earlier, that she had, we've never doubled or we never raised copays. That's not entirely accurate. In the 2019, the lowest average increase of healthcare, perhaps on average, that's correct. But also you priced out a couple plans where some people are having to pay $900 more a month, from $150 to $900 more a month. That's unacceptable. To retirees, especially to retirees, it's unacceptable. I'm a certified good guy, like I said, certified good guy from the state of California. I'm a police officer. My job is to sniff out shenanigans and to hold people accountable. And that's what I will do as your board member.
Thank you. Priya.
Thank you. Well, you know, I have been serving our members for, as I said, about 16 years. And I do that not just because I find the work interesting, which I do, but really because I know that California public employees and retirees have worked for their pensions. There are a lot of myths out there, right, that a public pension is a gift to public sector workers, but we all know that workers work for their pensions. And not only do they earn those pensions, but they also contribute to those pensions. And so I'm here, and I want to continue to serve our CalPERS members because I know that they need CalPERS to be managed effectively and efficiently and to deliver the results so that they can retire with a dignified retirement. And I have the skills and experience to do that. I've done that through two economic downturns in the past 16 years. And that was not easy, but that experience has not only toughened me up, but also given me a lot more insight into how to manage this fund in a way to not only just swing for the fences and hope for the best, but to actually manage the risk that faces our members. And I think that is critical. On the healthcare side, I also chaired the Pension Health Benefits Committee for 8 years. And that's also not an easy market. As you know, the healthcare system is actually more of a non-system. It's a fragmented system. And in order to achieve healthcare, a good healthcare benefits in that marketplace while keeping plans as affordable as possible is no easy feat. And I think the experience that I bring around innovative solutions, tough negotiating tactics, all together really will serve the members well.
Thank you. And Priya, we're going to start this question with you. What are some of the long-term risks facing CalPERS investments, and how would you address them?
Yeah, you know, CalPERS expects to be in business pretty much forever. As long as there are public sector workers working public sector jobs and earning a retirement, a pension, CalPERS expects to be in business. That means we have a very long-term horizon. We're not just investing for tomorrow or for 10 years from now, but we are investing for our members who are still going to be expecting their secure retirement 60, 70 years and beyond. And so with that, we have to be mindful of the risks that might manifest over that time. Let me give you one example, climate change. So we all know that we are experiencing worse weather events across this state and across the country, and really around the globe. And that means that there are certain places in the United States and elsewhere that are going to be underwater at some point, either through flooding or through inundation from the sea. And CalPERS owns a lot of real estate. Now, would I be doing my job if I wasn't considering what the implications of that type of flooding would be for those properties? You know, we know that insurance companies down to the zip code are considering whether they should continue to offer flood insurance in certain jurisdictions. And if they're going to walk away from insuring those properties and we're still holding those properties, what risk does that pose to our members and their ability and our ability to achieve the target rate of return that we have projected? So these are that's one of the risks, but those are the types of risks that we must be focusing on, in addition, obviously, to all the other financial and investment risks in the markets, just from the way the markets work, that we must be considering.
Thank you. And Jason.
Thank you. I agree with Ms. Mather. We are indeed a long-term fund. I think the greatest risk is to the fund, but what the fund is doing to the members that it serves, and specifically to the taxpayers of California and to the cities and the counties who contract with CalPERS. The 10-year projection is a 6.1% rate of return, yet our assumption rate is 7%. That doesn't add up. We're gonna hit the cities and the counties with more money that they're gonna have to come up with. And there's 111 ballots, measures on different ballots across the state for tax increases. The tax increases that the city management would say is due to the CalPERS unfunded liability, their ARC payments. at the end of the day, climate change is real, and it's a real concern. But that's not the job of CalPERS. The sole function of CalPERS is to provide benefits to its members and health care, and to reduce the amount of their burden on the municipalities.
Thank you. And Jason, take a breath because this is coming back to you. How will you keep the value of health benefits high while maintaining affordability?
Wow. That is one of the crucial things that CalPERS provides to its members is the healthcare, affordable healthcare, specifically to the retirees. I have learned a great deal in these past 18 months studying the healthcare issues. The problem comes in with negotiating. Where's the value for instance, the fund that's no longer available in San Francisco? They're priced out. They're priced out of the market, and they can't. They're not going to make a profit. So why would someone be in business if they're not going to make a profit? We need to be able to offer things to them, some kind of incentives. I don't know. I wish I could give you the perfect answer, but I don't have that answer other than through negotiations and through ideas from everyone at the board, across the table, from the board members, from the team at CalPERS, from the stakeholders in the audience, and from cities and the providers themselves.
Thank you. And Priya?
Well, this is where experience really matters, because it's very easy to say you should negotiate a lower premium. I would love to do that, and I certainly could do that if I was willing to slash the benefits or drastically increase the coinsurance or co-payments for our members. But what we want our members to have is the highest quality, highest value health care at the most affordable price. And to me, that means ensuring that people are getting the types of care that they need in the moment, as early as they need it. Because if you defer care, then that only becomes not only worse for the person's health, but also more costly for the system. Because health illnesses, when ignored, only become more expensive and more painful. So what we do at CalPERS, and we've progressively improved how we negotiate, but we base our negotiations on data. We collect a lot of data on how our members, what their health status is, not individuals, but collectively, how they use the health system, and where we can drive better value for our members. I'll give you one example, and that's hip and knee surgeries. So with hip and knee surgeries, we did a study a few years ago where we found that hip and knee surgeries, the cost of them varied dramatically across the state, from under $15,000 to over $100,000. And we found absolutely no correlation between the cost and quality of those surgeries for our members. Now, why should we pay $100,000 for a surgery that doesn't provide any better outcomes? It doesn't make any sense. Well, we implemented a reference pricing initiative where we set a $30,000 price. We identified a list of hospitals that were willing to do the procedure for that price. And we had 3 startling results. $5.5 million of savings over 2 years. Our members had better outcomes. They were less likely to end up back in the hospital 30 days after surgery. And across the state, we saw providers reducing the cost of those surgeries to $30,000. So it benefited not just our own members, but all of California.
Thank you. And Jason, or did you already answer that one? No, I'm sorry.
Oh, it scared me. I thought I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I did.
He did.
I did, right?
You did, yes.
Good, because I was listening.
Am I getting confused already? All right. You did, because I crossed it off and said that question was done. Okay, Priya, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
The board is considering a new private equity model that creates 2 new companies and boards to invest nearly $40 billion. Do you support outsourcing?
Well, I love how that is phrased, because this is not outsourcing, actually. This is a whole new piece of work that we would be undertaking. And this is very specialized work. Private equity investing is probably some of the most complicated type of investing and most specialized type of investing that there is. And So I support this particular model. Of course, there are some details still to be worked out, and so I have not put my final stamp, my final vote to this model, but I think that the idea is right. And what it is to directly invest in private companies. I don't know if you know, but in today's world, only 40% of companies are actually in the stock market or are public companies. 60% are now private companies. So for us to take to participate in the performance of and the earnings of the most successful companies, we're going to have to be invested in the private markets. And I think this direct model will do a few things. One, it will allow us to negotiate better fees because we'll be directly investing through this particular vehicle. Two, it will allow us to have a much longer horizon. Private equity funds, as they are today, have about a 10-year life of that fund, and each individual company investment might be 5 to 7 years. So that means that the managers of those funds are only looking at improvements to those companies that are going to derive value within 5 to 7 years. Now, as I said earlier, CalPERS is a very long-term investor. So we actually invest in companies over their entire life cycles. So if we don't have to exit a company 5 to 7 years out, that means we can actually take advantage of their growth throughout the life of the company, which I think will only add value to our members.
Thank you. Jason.
I think it's a cataclysmic event, and we're all dinosaurs in the room, and meteors are going to come get us. That is a horrible example. I'm not telling anything in the audience that you don't know, but for the people watching at home, basically CalPERS is creating 2 new managers, fund managers, giving them all the money, 10%, which is $36 billion, right? Giving them complete authority to spend and invest that money how they see fit. Those companies haven't been developed yet. They haven't been vetted. They haven't grown. They haven't gone through any kind of processes. Recruitment hasn't been done for them yet. 10% of your fund, 10% of your retirement fund, they're just going to give it away and trust that these guys are going to do the right thing. Everyone, I don't trust anybody with that kind of money. It is a poor idea. It is outsourcing at its very definition. That's a very good question. And shame on the CalPERS board for even considering it, and shame on whoever brought it to attention.
Okay. Jason, this question comes to you. CalPERS, its members, and the retirement benefits members receive are often under attack. What would you do to protect them? So I think it's looking at CalPERS, its members, and the retirement benefits members receive.
Okay, I think I'll answer it the way I heard the question. So we're getting attacked. CalPERS members are getting attacked. The retirees, because we're getting too rich of a pension, if that's what the question was. So the attacks would not happen if we were funded. If there wasn't 111 different initiatives on different ballots throughout the state, we would not be under attack. Ms. Mathers said that she's doing some great things. When she was elected in 2003, the fund was 108%. Today, we're at 71%. That doesn't sound great. We went from an A+ to a C-. That's unacceptable. What I would do specifically to protect the men and women that are getting their retirements is concentrate on recruiting, training, and empowering our internal people. It kind of goes back to that last question. We have talented people here at CalPERS, and we need to invest in them and train them to have the ability to invest in what they do. I don't need to be a money market manager. I need to smell out all the shenanigans. And that's a specific example of outsourcing. That $36 billion to somebody is a perfect example of it. So members, if you want to know what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to secure your pension. I'm going to ensure that we do everything we can. The litmus test is going to be the risk versus how much it's going to make for the fund, period.
Thank you. Priya.
Well, I hear a lot of generalities, but not a lot of specifics. You know, first of all, let me just address this one misperception that I think Mr. Perez has. This direct model that you asked about earlier is not going to allocate 10% of CalPERS assets to that model. That is not the plan, never has been the plan. So I think he's misinformed. But with respect to pension attacks, I do think that public employees and their benefits are under attack today. They have been for many years. And it's something that I have focused a lot on, particularly now as board president. You know, one of the things that our CEO and I had talked about sort of within the first few weeks of me being elected board president is how do we address that? How do we protect our members from the attacks that are out there in the media and in the public domain? And number one is that we have to make progress towards full funding of the system. There's no doubt about it that 2 financial downturns had an impact on this fund and its funding status. But we have made significant improvement over the past 2 years. In fact, I think we've increased 7% over those 2 years. And that is not a small feat. And we've done that by making a lot of tough decisions. And I am here to say that I will absolutely make the tough decisions when they're required and warranted. But I will do that, as I have done, in consultation with employers and members to ensure that everyone has a voice in the process. Now, the other important thing to protecting our members on the retirement side is having a more proactive media strategy, because I think we have been a little bit defensive in our approach to these attacks and sort of taken a back, sort of sat back a little bit and just responded to attacks. But what we've done in the past several months is develop a much more substantial proactive strategy where we're telling our own story. One piece that you might have seen on our website is the Solid Foundation for the Future. So I ask everyone to take a look at that.
Thank you. And I'm going to start this question with you, Priya. Mm-hmm. The Wall Street Journal recently ran a story about a CalPERS new office development. The story focused on the pull between being good neighbors or making the best returns. Where do you land on this issue?
So I have to say that was an article that was based on confidential information, and I'm afraid that we discussed that in closed session, and it's not something I can actually comment on.
Okay.
I will. And I'll go back to the mission statement of CalPERS and the Constitution. They both say the same thing. Maximize the return for the benefit of the members. It's nice to build a beautiful building in town. It affects, I don't know, however many people that are going to be living in that building. It doesn't matter if it's not going to make us money. Walking into the auditorium here, when you're walking out on your right-hand side, there's a plaque, and it says the fund governance. Number 1, effective and capable fiduciaries. They are capable, yes. Don't misunderstand me. Ms. Mather has the capacity to do it. She has the education, the knowledge. There's no doubt. The problem is she's lost her way. You're elected to this board as a servant to the members. It's our job to make sure that that money is there for them when they retire and the health benefits are there for the retirees. The traveling around the world, Oslo, Cambridge, Singapore, I don't know, I got a pretty long list around here somewhere. I don't see the need for it. I don't see the need for it. That's money that could be returned into the system, and that will help with the attacks as well.
Thank you. Jason, we're going to start with you on this question. Do investment and healthcare experience matter?
I would be a fool to tell you that it does not. But what matters more is integrity, honesty, courage. I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it because it's true. I'm a certified good guy. In addition to that, I put my life on the line every day when I go to work. I don't know another job that you have to wear a bulletproof vest and a gun on your hip because people want to get you. A board member, the board needs to get out of its own way and allow the team members of CalPERS to do what they want to do and invest money. That's what they're here. That's why you come to work for CalPERS. They don't come to work to CalPERS because they want to worry about environmental, social governance. They don't come to CalPERS because they want to work at the Lincoln Plaza. Investment team comes to CalPERS because they want to make money for the fund. I'm sure if you go poll them, they'll say, man, my job is to make money, and I feel kind of handcuffed about it. No pun intended.
Priya.
You know, I have no doubt that Mr. Perez is a wonderful police officer, a brave police officer. And I have nothing but respect for the profession and for the really important job that police officers do for their communities, for our communities, and for the state of California. But he admitted himself at a CalPERS board meeting just a year ago that he doesn't pretend to know how to invest. And I think that was a true statement then, and it's a true statement now. I do have both the education and the experience in this area, and that's why I have a more nuanced understanding of how the investment markets work. I mean, what Mr. Perez perhaps does not know is that CalPERS invests internationally. In fact, about 50% of our stock investments are outside of the United States, and that's an important component of the diversification of our portfolio, which is necessary to deliver returns in a way that is adjusted for risk. And I hear him talk a lot about returns, and I absolutely think returns matter. Of course they do. But if you ignore risk, then you ignore it at your peril and at the peril of our members, because our members cannot afford to have us have the same kind of experience we had in 2008, where a collapse of the markets led us to lose a considerable amount of money. And that was an extraordinarily painful experience for me as a board member, and I know it was a scary experience for our members. But what we have to do is also protect the fund on the downside. So manage the fund in such a way that we are diversified, that we're ensuring that we don't have to sell investments when markets go wrong, that we can actually use the cash flow to pay benefits, and that we take advantage of all of the skills and experience and expertise that we can to drive the best returns for our members.
Thank you. Now, I hope you both answered that question, right?
We did.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, we are going to go with Priya. And I'm just reading these questions as they have been written, so there's no editorial coming through. What, if any, actions would you recommend regarding recent allegations that the CEO misrepresented her education and work history to get hired?
Well, let me just say unequivocally that that is not what happened. Our CEO, the CalPERS board hired our CEO knowing full well that she did not have a college degree. Why do we do that? It's not because we're dumb. We did it because she was absolutely, without question, the most qualified person for the job. She has deep and broad experience. She has exhibited leadership skills. She was in the cabinet of the governor of the state of Washington. She chaired the Washington State Investment Board. She had the exact type of skills, competencies, and experience that we needed here at CalPERS. And I have to say, 2 years in, which I think October will be her anniversary, her performance demonstrates her competency and her capability. And I will defend her till the end because she is an extraordinary leader, and she has delivered extraordinary value to CalPERS and our members.
Thank you. Jason.
I'm sorry, can you?
Yes.
The phrase, the way that was asked.
What, if any, action would you recommend regarding recent allegations that the CEO misrepresented her education and work history to get hired?
What if anything? I don't think Priya answered that question. She supports Ms. Frost, and that's good. She should, absolutely. There's a difference between allegations and whispers or like concrete evidence. If we cannot investigate whispers, if we just listen to every whisper that was out there, nothing would get done anywhere, not in CalPERS and no organization. If there's concrete evidence that there's some kind of criminal activity or some intentional misrepresentation, then we owe it to the members and the fund and to Ms. Frost to clear her name, if that's the case. I don't know the circumstances of the whole issues. I will say that just because that we select somebody does not mean they're not corruptible. That's our job. The board of directors' job is to hold people accountable and watch after people. A perfect example was the 2 CEOs ago when that guy, he may be watching this from prison cell. We have to watch people. That's part of what the board does. That's the soul of what the board does, is to make sure that that the team of CalPERS is doing the right thing. And no doubt that the team is almost always doing the right thing. The board has to watch them.
Thank you. Let's go to a really basic question, and we're going to start with you, Jason. How do you view public service? I bet you'll like that one.
Thank you. Wow. So when you sign up to be a public servant in any capacity, it's called service for a reason. You're a servant. It's not a life of leisure. It's not a life of pleasure. Think of the Knights of the Round Table. There's 12 of them. They're all sitting around the table. They are dedicated to making everyone's lives around them better. When you're elected to, if you get elected to a board, not just CalPERS, but a board, you owe it to the men and women that elected you to that board to serve, putting yourself last, putting the greater good forward. That's the essence of it.
Thank you. Priya.
So I have been an employee of the San Francisco Bay Area Rapid Transit District for more than 20 years. And I am proud that BART helps hundreds of thousands of residents and visitors move safely and efficiently around the Bay Area. As a CalPERS board member, I have the great honor to serve those who serve California. Our members do the important and often unrecognized work that sustains our communities. The workers at the LA County Sanitation District, for example, process the wastewater and solid waste from LA County's toilets and drains. Can you imagine if they were not doing this essential work? They do this work at a plant that they power with the methane gas they capture from the waste, an economic and environmental benefit to their community. We all are all too aware of the enormous effort and sacrifice that firefighters make for us in this state, working 72-hour shifts and risking their lives battling the largest fires in California history. Our members perform this deeply honorable work, knowing that they won't get private sector salaries. They do it to serve our communities, and for that work, they earn a modest and dignified retirement and receive decent health care benefits. I have been proud to fight attacks against pensions, unions, and public employee benefits. That's how I view public service.
Thank you. And Priya, I'm going to start with you. As a board member, you have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interests of its members and employees. Do you believe it's in the best interest of members to travel the world with pension funds?
So absolutely we have a fiduciary duty. I have a fiduciary duty to our members, and that is to oversee the investments of the retirement fund. As I mentioned earlier, CalPERS invests all over the world. And we invest, and often in collaboration with other investors from all over the world. And it is important, I think, as a CalPERS board member, to be well educated in the matters of investments, not just here in the United States, but also globally, and to work with our partners in achieving the best possible results for our members. And so, travel is not just a perk, although I think people might look at it that way. It is an essential component of the work that we do as board members, because if we just sit in one place and stare at a screen, we're not going to get at the same type of experience, information, relationships that are necessary to really deliver value to our members.
Thank you. Jason.
Can I ask Priya a question and give her my 2 minutes?
Pardon me?
Can I ask Priya a question and give her my 2 minutes? Because I want to know what the value is. I don't see how going to Norway or going to a stock exchange and ringing a bell brings value to the members.
I think she sort of answered that. I would prefer to
Okay.
you just.
I do not. I don't see it. Granted, I'm not on the board. I'm not in closed sessions. I don't see the relationships being built. But I think that's the philosophical difference between the way I view being on a board and the way she's running the board. The board needs to get out of the way. Just ensure that the team is doing what they're doing. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Jason, I'm going to start with you. Each of your campaign donations and expenditures are governed by the FPPC. Tell me if you are in compliance with all the state's requirements, and have you had any violations or fines in the past?
Thank you. No, yes, they're governed by the FPPC. No, yes, I'm up to date. You can look on the 460s, I think they're called. I'm completely in compliance. I've never been in trouble for that. One of the biggest concerns that I spoke with to my treasurer is that I could lose my job as a police officer. And I'm not saying, hey, I keep throwing that out there, but as a police officer, if I'm dishonest, there's something called the Brady List. And you guys at home, you're all shaking your head and like, yeah. The Brady List, if I get put on the Brady List, that means I can't testify in court. If I can't testify in court, I can't do my job as a cop. So everything I have to do is on the up and up. So no, that's your question, no. I'm clean as a whistle.
Thank you. Priya.
Thank you. Well, I am in compliance. I was fined by the FPPC a few years ago, and that was for failing. I neglected to close one of my campaign accounts, and I did not, and so therefore I did not file my forms of economic interest for or my campaign filings for, and for that I was fined. I absolutely accept responsibility for that. That was my responsibility. I should have filed those forms. It's important to note that there was nothing to report on those forms, but nonetheless, it was absolutely my obligation. I've been 100% hyper-vigilant on all my filings ever since.
Thank you. And I'm going to start again with you.
Who's you?
Oh, Priya.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry. I'm keeping track, but if I kind of mix it up like I said I was going to do, I'm going to totally lose track. So, Priya, what are the issues of greatest importance to CalPERS, and what actions would you take to address these issues?
To CalPERS. So the issues of greatest concern to CalPERS are achieving our target rate of returns and making progress towards full funding of the system. That's number one. Number two is continuing to deliver a high quality, affordable health care for our members. And number three, and this is equally important, is protecting our members and their access to a dignified retirement. And that means protecting them from attacks against public workers and public pension benefits.
Thank you. Jason,
Again,
would you
I'm
like me
sorry.
to repeat that?
I'm sorry, please.
It was, what are the issues of greatest importance to CalPERS, and what actions would you take to address these issues?
There's three things that are on my radar that I think are fairly large concerns for CalPERS. One that I already spoke about earlier is to train. We need to recruit, train, and reward our team members. For some reason, the state of California has an aversion to paying its employees, what they're worth. We'll pay a college coach, millions of dollars, but we won't pay an investment manager, an internal investment manager, what he or she is worth. So we need to pay our people what they're worth. Additionally, again, that we already talked about, I would not go. We need to concentrate on California as board members, the people that elected us, or if we were appointed, the people that elected us are in California, and that's pretty much where your travel is limited to. Southwest and steerage, if they have it. And last, we need to really work on the rates that we pay, because we don't have that staff. We don't have those team members here in-house anymore. They get taken away by the big investment firms. We need, until we can build that team up here, we need to renegotiate the terms with those big Wall Street firms. Yes, 3.
Okay, thank you. And Jason, I'm going to start with this. What would you do to enhance the organization?
I think from the theme that I'm getting when I'm here, the emails that I'm getting, the phone calls, the texts, people stopping me here in the hallway, is they want to make money. So the culture is there. The team, they're leashed. To put it simple, the team members here at CalPERS are leashed, and the board is holding that leash. And I don't know why. I suspect it's because the political issues that are going around. The CalPERS is being used as a political action committee as opposed to a retirement fund, and that is nonsense that has to stop. So once the board releases that leash, and I hate to make it sound like the team members are animals or not, once they let the team members go, the culture will be just that of gratitude.
Thank you. Priya.
You know, we have a remarkable team here at CalPERS, and I have had the privilege of getting to know so many of the people who work here. And what I hear from people who work here is what a remarkable and incredible culture there is here. This is a mission-driven organization where people are focused on the members and on delivering good service to the members. There's also a culture of innovation and creativity where the views and ideas of people all across, both horizontally and vertically, all across the enterprise are valued and listened to, and in some cases implemented. We train our people here. In fact, we, instead of hiring expensive outside consultants like KPMG, we often train our own people. So we do Lean Six Sigma training for our own team so that they can deliver process improvements and efficiencies within the organization, driving value for our members by improving the service that we deliver to our members and reducing the cost to our members. That is something that this team focuses on. Now, what can we do better? What I hear from members is that they are sort of beaten down by some of the drumbeat of the attacks against CalPERS and its leadership, which are really distractions from the work that they're trying to do here, the really meaningful, important work. And that drumbeat of attacks is really intended, I think, it's sort of a coordinated, in my view, a coordinated attack on public pensions, on the benefits that public workers earn, and perhaps on the public workers themselves. And I think we have to sort of clear our heads of that noise and do our best to deflect and defend the leadership of this organization and the team members who work so hard to deliver the benefits to our members every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And candidates, you'll be glad to know this is the last question, and it's open-ended. You can use your time to talk about something that was not asked of you or to elaborate on a subject that you felt like you could talk forever on. So I'm going to start with you, Priya.
Thank you. Well, I was just talking about the customer service that our team members deliver to the CalPERS members, and let me expand on that a little bit. So, and I talked about process efficiency. Well, one of the things we discovered a few years ago, or that we became concerned about a few years ago, was how long it was taking to process disability retirements. And of course, when a member is facing a disability, that's a time of great pain and chaos in their lives. And what we found, it was just taking months and months and months to process those disability retirements. And so we said to the team, hey, we really need to refine this process. They did. They took a look at it. What they found was that we were waiting for members to file paperwork. And as you can imagine, you have a disability, you might be, you're in a health crisis, you might not be paying attention to all the forms that you need to file. So we changed a few things. One of them, principally, was reaching out to members themselves and saying, hey, you know, I noticed that this piece of paperwork has not been filed. How can I help you get that in? And we found that we actually were able to significantly shorten the amount of time it takes to process those disability retirements. So our members get their retirements in a timely fashion. You know, the other thing I want to just note is we all know that there have been some big fires happening here in the state of California. And some of our retirees have been sadly displaced from their homes. And in fact, in some cases, they may have lost their homes. Well, we've sent our members, our team members, to those locations to make sure that they don't suffer any disruption in their retirement payments. Because, you know, retirees rely on those retirement payments for their income. And if they don't have a home with an address where they can receive that retirement payment, it's incumbent upon us, and we take it upon ourselves to make sure that they don't face a disruption.
Thank you. Jason.
Thank you. Ms. Mather earlier mentioned that she wants to deflect and defend our actions. That is categorically the wrong response. We take responsibility. Sorry, we should take responsibility head on, and be. This is the buzzword of the day: transparent. We need to be open to everybody. Earlier this year, the board tried to get rid of the transcriptionist that sits over there, taking notes, taking transcribing the board minutes. That can't happen. The conversations that go, well, I'm assuming that go behind closed session, that needs to be more open. Unless they're talking about investments that are gonna change if that information gets out publicly, then the public, the members and the public at large, they want to hear the discourse. They want to hear the disagreements. The board needs to stop being so political and concentrate on the returns. I think her head is in the sand when she says that, well, she can't be in the sand. She's intelligent. I think she's just ignoring the facts. So in police work, we call that an omission, and that's the same thing as not being honest. In CalPERS documents, it's very clear that the long-term trend questions that faith in CalPERS has dropped nearly 20% in some categories. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move to our closing statements, and it will be the same order as before. So we'll hear our first closing statement from Jason Perez.
Thank you again for enduring this. It's not comfortable to be up here speaking, but it goes back to having the courage to say what needs to be said. At the very least, for the people watching at home, I challenge you to at least do homework. First of all, vote. I mean, if you're watching, you're going to vote. But do homework on the candidates. Do homework. You know, she said that I was misrepresented or misquoted or I was wrong. Basically, I was wrong. Check the facts, please. For the record, she wasn't fined one time. She was fined 4 times. And the the Los Angeles Times wrote a pretty harsh article on it. You can just Google it. It'll be there. At the end of the day, we owe it to the members of CalPERS, we owe it to the taxpayers of California, and we owe it to the team to just let them do what the California Constitution says they have to do, not should, have to do, and what the CalPERS mission statement is, and that is maximize the return to benefits to its members while minimizing the exposure to the cities and counties. Thank you. Vote for Perez.
Thank you. And our second closing statement will be given by Priya Mathur.
You know, serving on this board is not about dictating answers to the CalPERS staff. Rather, I view it as a partnership between our extraordinary, dedicated, and mission-driven team and the board to identify the best ideas and make decisions that advance the interests of our members. I urge you, don't risk your pension and healthcare benefits by gambling on experience. All this negative stuff is just a smokescreen for Mr. Perez's lack of qualifications and his lack of a plan. Don't fall for it. I have led CalPERS through significant economic downturns and drastic changes in the healthcare marketplace. Investing in this complex global investment market requires a sophisticated understanding, not only of the drivers of return, but also of the risks that can jeopardize investment performance. I know that healthcare costs impact our members right in the pocketbook. We could easily reduce premiums for members if we were willing to drastically reduce benefits or radically increase coinsurance and copays for the sick. But what our members expect of us, and they should, is for us to be innovative and lead the industry in developing solutions that both drive down costs and deliver high-quality healthcare. I have done that. It has been a privilege to represent public agency employees on the board of CalPERS for the past 16 years, and I would be honored to continue to serve as your public agency representative. I humbly ask for your vote.
Thank you. That concludes our forum. I would like to thank the candidates, Jason Perez, Priya Mathur, for participating, and you all get to give them a round of applause. Very nice job. I would also like to thank all the volunteers who have made this forum possible. And to our audience, both in this room and online, thank you for attending. We hope this forum has been informative and will help you decide how you will vote. Ballots were mailed to eligible active public agency members on August 31st. Voters may submit their votes by mail, online, or by telephone. All votes must be received on or before October 1st at 11:59 p.m. The new term of office will begin January 16th, 2019, and run through January 15th, 2023. And now I just want to put in a plug for something that the League of Women Voters has put forward, because this is not the only election happening at the end of the year. We have November's general election, and we have, well, this is not what I'm talking about, except that it's the web page called Voters Edge, votersedge.org/CA. And if you go on this website, you can find, you put in your address, you can find your own ballot. You can click on a candidate and get information that has been submitted. You can click on the ballot measures for information. So it's a handy tool. I suggest you go there. So thank you very much for coming tonight, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Suzanne.